Hey, look out. It's Faith Talk Live. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Radcliffe.
Well, look at there. She's a legend, and we love her to pieces. Middays on 104.7 The Fish. It is Park Stamper. Parksy, how are you?
Very well. Thank you guys for having me on today. This is my next to the last day full-time on The Fish. So pardon me if I get a little emotional.
Parks, we didn't get to vote on this. Rick and I, apparently we missed the voting day, so we still need to vote. And we vote no, you can't go anywhere.
We've already.
Yeah, no, it's time. It is time. And it's funny because I told the higher ups that part of my decision-making process in this is when I first came to The Fish, God made it real clear for me to come here, but he also made it clear that it was going to be only for a season. I had no idea the season was going to be 21 years long, but now it's pretty clear to me the season's starting to wind down. I just feel kind of stale, and I think it's time to get somebody fresh in here, just for the benefit of the listeners. And I'm old and I want to retire.
Well, let's talk a little about it. We know you have to do a break here pretty soon because you are live on the air, but let's talk a little bit about This Is Your Life, Parksy Stamper.
Yes.
You are an amazing young lady. You always have been. I worked with you on the south side of the station, and you were destined to go somewhere, and there you are. And you have built not only, we build a show, right? But you have built such a huge connection with the midday audience, which is kind of difficult because most people think the majority of the audience is the morning or the afternoon, but you have built quite a relationship with midday. Talk about that.
Well, one of the things, and I always say this, and this is part of my testimony, is that God's got a sense of humor, because he put me with this little Appalachian mountain Southern accent on a major radio station in a major market, and people made fun of my accent at University of Tennessee. So, it's bad, right? Wow. If they make fun of you in Knoxville. But, God's got a sense of humor, and he put me into this position. And it's just been from my first day, taking calls, and there were a lot of people that I knew from other stations where I'd worked for that kind of came over to The Fish that listened to The Fish because, the signal quality and everything like that. Mm-hmm. So there were some listeners that were built in, and then I just made some amazing friends. I got some really good advice at the very first station that I ever worked for. A guy named Jim Arnold was kind of my mentor, and he did the morning show, and he's like, "Parks, do you know who our listeners are?" And I'm like, "Who, Jim?" And he's like, "They're our friends." And he was so right. So yeah.
And that's obvious with Parks. I mean, Parks started working like a week or two before I started working there. And
we came at the same time.
We go way back, don't we, Parks?
We do. We do. We did go way back. And it's kind of funny to me because it doesn't seem like it's been that long, but it's been 21 years. So.
But it was always so cool to see how Parks just made friends with listeners wherever she went on the phone. I mean, she would pray with people. She would keep a prayer list. And I mean, she genuinely cares about the listeners, and it shows. That's why listeners love her so much. And you're our special breed at Parks.
We still have the prayer list. I've got years and years of prayer list, but I think it's really important because, there's not a whole lot that you can do for someone I talk between songs, basically. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not like Kevin and Taylor's show where they have a show and people are listening to their bits and stuff like that. It's not like in the afternoons where there's traffic and things like that. So I always kind of knew my place was to just shut up and play the music, right? But, what I say in between the songs, to get people to, if they need prayer or people dealing, so many people, especially now, struggling with mental illness and things like that, and just feel so isolated and alone. That's one of the things that's been just a real blessing to me, is because they consider me a friend.
Yeah.
And I am.
You are.
And I'll still be around. So I'm still going to be working part-time, maybe doing a weekend shift later on or something like that, but I'll still be around.
Good.
Yeah, with technology, of course. I mean, Dana and I have been at home now for 2 years doing our show. So
it works out pretty well, right?
At home, nothing. I'm at the beach. I don't know what you're talking
about.
Well,
wherever you and Greg land, I mean, you'll be able to do that through technology. And so I think that'd be really cool. That'd be a benefit to the station and the company. Park Stamper midday is at 104.7. The Fish just for a couple of days this shift. And tomorrow, Friday, will be your last day. No doubt you'll get a boatload of calls tomorrow.
I don't know. It's so funny since COVID happened, and we also changed our phone number in kind of the middle of all of this from a 404 to a 770.
Nobody ever asked me about that either. So
I know. It was a weird situation. But since that's happened, the phones have been pretty slow. But what we get tons of are texts. We can answer texts while we're on the air and everything like that. So and I've already gotten so many nice messages from friends, from listeners, and lots of stuff on Facebook, because I did make the announcement on Facebook too. Because speaking of the beach, one of the things that Greg and I hopefully will do in retirement is head on down to God's waiting room and be in Florida.
God's waiting room.
God's waiting room.
It's been. I feel young down there. It's fantastic. So we've got a little house close to a beach, and we're doing some rentals with it, renting it out some, staying there some, and
that's awesome.
So that's kind of hopefully what the plan will be for a while. And everybody's invited. It's a beach.
Good for you. That is so awesome. Good for y'all. Yeah. I'm happy for y'all.
We're talking
Parks,
with
go ahead.
Go ahead, Dan.
Parks, any big memories thinking back 22, 21 years ago, however long ago it was that we started on the Fish? Any memories that really stick out over the last 20 years?
Yes. This is there are two. One came with Fish Christmas Wish. And I've been real open with my listeners. I have battled obsessive compulsive disorder since I was like 5 years old. And it's a horrible, horrible disease, but through the grace of God, I've been able to live and manage it. And the healing process is in my life. But I read a Fish Christmas Wish from a sister whose brother was completely shut in with OCD and couldn't even get out of his house. He couldn't hold a job, couldn't do anything because the fear was just so strong. And the thoughts were just so constant. And I saw that Fish Christmas Wish, and I was like, oh yeah, this is the one that we need to do as a station. And they were trying to get him sent to a psychiatric clinic in Arkansas, but they didn't have the money for the travel and stuff like that. And the Fish listeners and Fish Christmas Wish stepped up, sent him there, helped pay for his medical bills. And now, guess what he does now? He's a disc jockey.
Really?
He's in radio. Yes, he is. And he's doing fantastic. So that was one of the big memories. And then there was another one, and this wasn't a Fish Christmas Wish, but I had a husband contact me, just sent me an email, and he was desperate. And he's like, my wife, Peggy, needs a kidney, and she's older, and she's way down on the list and everything. And the Holy Spirit just sort of prompted me to say something about that. And I did not want to, because I'm like, what am I going to do? Yeah. Hey, Fish listeners, give somebody a kidney. It's like
an extra kidney. We need one.
Yeah, we need a kidney. So hey, but I just read his letter on the air, and I had two people call me that were interested. I had a lady who called, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I want to give her my kidney," and I was like, "This is kind of weird. I mean, this is a little weird." But I gave her the information, so she could contact them. And then I had a guy call, and he's like, "Hey, look, I don't know about giving somebody my kidney, but I thought, I feel like I need to at least check into it." Well, he did. And it turned out the lady found out through testing that she had ovarian cancer.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and so it was a good thing she was wanting to give away her kidney. Otherwise, she would have never found the, ovarian cancer, very deadly. If you don't find it in the early stages, it's not good. So she found that in the early stages. So that was the first miracle. Second miracle was the guy who called in to just check into it. He gave Peggy a kidney, and he was a perfect match.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. God worked in that situation, didn't he?
That was that, if ever I have a, things get tough. I mean, right now, this whole situation with Ukraine and everything is just, everybody's on the edge of their seats. And it's just like, God is still in control. And I just have to think back about that situation. And it's on a much smaller scale than worldwide scale, but God's still in control. He's still in control. So,
love it.
Yeah, he makes himself manifest. He makes himself known. If you ask, he'll let you know.
For sure.
That's so good. Park Stamper, 104.7 The Fish Middays. How long do you have before you break? I have one more question to ask you.
I have 3 minutes and 8 seconds.
Let's see.
Mark, set, go.
All right, your favorite coworkers, go.
There's a couple of guys named Rick and Dan, and
you don't have to just go on with you. We all know that Cynthia is everybody's favorite coworker. So
yes. Everybody here has just been such a blessing, and I mean, it's such a great atmosphere, and I'm going to miss everybody terribly. But again, I'll still be hanging around. They'll probably be like, why is she in here? Didn't she retire a couple of years ago? What's up with that?
As long as you come to the Christmas party, we're good to go.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, Parks, we love you. We always have, and we're so proud of you. And it flew by. I can't believe it when I saw the announcement that you recorded, or I actually saw it live, I think. I was like, no, not yet.
Yeah.
So, but it's time, and God's plans for you are huge. They really, really are.
And I don't know who is going to be taking up middays, but I do know this: it'll be somebody God wants in that position. And there are a lot of really talented, anointed people that are looking into it. So, I guess we'll find out in a couple of weeks, maybe.
Well, they got some big shoes to fill. We love you, Parks.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Well, listen,
Thanks
we know
so
you have
much,
to take a break. You have to take a break, and we have to take a break. So we'll be right back. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
This is Faith Talk Live.